Hey friends, just an update on my last reading when I was looking for an object. It turns out, the clues were maybe in my sewing area, because there was a woman. It was the quintessential card was the moon card of the Viéville. So there was a woman spinning thread as part of the reading. So I took it to mean that there was a tree represented in the card, so perhaps near or in wood. And then the other clues were, I think, swords and batons, which made me think male energies. So perhaps it had something to do with my husband. Now there was one Four of Cups, which wasn't male energy, but there was like I think a Ten of Swords, a Four of Batons, and a Four of Cups. And so the Four Batons and the Four Cups together made me think of something at home, maybe in plain view. I didn't mention that at the time, but maybe in plain view, something that you notice all the time. It's just standard, right? And then, at any rate, I gave up looking. I mean, I searched in all the places that were suggested. And then I just went and asked my husband, who had been helping me look, presumably the other day, right? I don't even know if he knew what he was helping me look for. Today he says, oh yeah, when you saw it in the tarot parlor, at the old house, you asked me to hold on to it. So I said, okay, well, where is it? It turns out that he not only held on to it, but then he ended up using it for all of his stuff. So now I'm back to needing a hard drive, but I'll get it. So today's video is going to be another demonstration reading. I'm going to be using the Viéville Tarot again by Artisan Tarot, because I'm willing my Tarot Sheet Revival deck, wherever it is, to find its way to me. So I'm using Viéville until it shows up on my doorstep, or until I hear word about where it is in the progress of its trip. It made it all the way from Belgium, and then wherever it landed in the United States, in New York City probably, it sat there for 3 years. There's been no action. I don't have a tracking number, so I can't track it, and I don't know where it is. Oh, I hope it shows up soon. Anyway, this video is going to be about, well, never mind, because I couldn't think of a question. So instead, I think I'm just going to do a couple lessons, maybe. Maybe that would be helpful for some of you. Not, and maybe if you're veteran readers, maybe it will, offer some insight for you as well. Okay, so I'm still using the Viéville, and let's do a few examples of elemental dignities. I know a lot of people perhaps want to understand how that works. We say with, Tarot Marseille style or Pip style cards that we don't necessarily need to worry about reversals, right? I never concern myself about reversals. And the reasons why are because we can look at some of the cards around, present in a spread, to understand whether or not what aspect of a meaning of a card might be relevant. Now, if you always if you always interpret the cards to answer the question, to answer the question, it's still possible that there's some vaguity there. Because, for example, if you say a question, like, I'm just going to use something, frivolous, like, will this young man that I'm interested in, or young lady that I'm interested in, will they contact me shortly? Okay, and what's wishful thinking? Wishful thinking is that you hear from them. So when you see some cards, let's say, let me flip the camera. Okay, I'll just use that as an example to see whatever cards pop up. So if you say, is this young person, is this, young man or young lady interested in me? And we see, okay, we get the wheel. I would probably do like 3 cards, because then I'd get the idea, the gist of how they feel. So we have the Wheel of Fortune. Maybe there's an opportunity, maybe they'll take the opportunity to go for it. Wow. Now I really shuffled these cards. How on earth? Son of a gun. Okay, well, I guess it was legit. And then the end. So to me, this would suggest, if I were to interpret that, I would suggest, well, there's going to be an opportunity, or they think there's going to be a chance and to go for it, but then at the last second, perhaps they don't, or perhaps something happens to derail them from intending to do that. And it's interesting that they're all higher order cards, because this is an extremely well shuffled deck. I shuffled it 1,000 times today. So I just have to take it that it's a legit spread. Okay, so we have 10 and 21, which is 31. 31 and 13 would be 44 minus 22 would be the Fool, right? So that if we wanted to do an extra card, which I don't think we needed to, but if we wanted to, it would be the Fool card. And of course, it's not going to be quick. Let me pause. So to me, it would seem, now I'm being objective because this isn't really happening to me, so I'm not like wishful thinking that it means that that the person is going to contact me. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I pull the quintessential card, which in this case would be the Fool card, and the Fool is someone who, in the context of the question, someone who has nothing to lose. Or somebody who has nothing to lose, And so this would further indicate to me that the individual would probably take the chance, because what is there to lose, The only thing to lose is that the person might say no, or not be interested. But at the same time, these cards suggest that that the intent is good and the idea or the willingness is there, but there's like a stop to it. Something derails it, And then when I ask for clarification and we get the Fool card, who's walking in the same direction as death, by the way. They're both walking together in the same direction. You would think that they contradict one another, because you would think that a person who has nothing to lose, and that they'd be willing to take the chance. But I don't know. I just think that the suggestion here is that they won't. Now, their intent is good, but something happens and they don't. But we couldn't use this for elemental dignities, because I only assigned the pips with elemental dignities. So let's shuffle a few more times, and let's ask other questions such as, I have an idea. Say my husband and I want to watch a movie, and he watches what he likes and I watch what I like. And we don't always agree on what we want to watch. So today, where neither one of us has a movie in mind, but say we just want to consult the universe through the cards to see what topic could cards suggest that we would both like. And then maybe it could remind us of a movie, or direct us to a modern movie that neither of us know about. So we have 10 swords, 2 batons, Knight of batons. So there's like an action, maybe an action movie, one that has a little bit of violence, which probably means I won't watch it. But so that wouldn't be the answer, because it's a movie that I want to watch too. So in the context of the question, this wouldn't apply, right? But it could be that it's an action movie, maybe a thriller, maybe where there's a love interest. Let's do the quint cards, which I don't count the court cards. So let's say this is 12. So 12 would be the hanged one. So let's find the hanged one. Hopefully it's soon in the deck. There we go. And of course in the Viéville, it was printed in reverse, because this is, I think, the upright position, And here we see the number 12. And he's upright. So this is the intended direction that the deck has it in. Now, it's possible that this deck, I think the only deck that the I think it is the only deck that exists of the Viéville. Maybe the only reason it exists is because it was a reject and it was just shoved someplace, right? So it could have been a reject with the understanding it was rejected because this and maybe other cards were printed improperly. Maybe that could have been the reason. So we don't know if it was really intentional. It could have been intended to be this way, but because the numbers were wrong, they scratched it and they, abandoned this print. It could have been a way that happened too. So, but not knowing the truth, the card presents itself to us in this way, and I'm not inverting it. I'm not reverting, turning it around because this is the way it was printed off the deck. So I'm just treating it like the way it looks. So I'm thinking that with the Hanged Man, the sense, I think it would be like a thriller, and maybe the person who is the protagonist or a main character perhaps escapes death or escapes a consequence that we all thought was a foregone conclusion in the story. So if we can come to terms with that, what that movie describes, maybe that would be a great movie for us to watch. And let's try one more reading. Alrighty, I wanted to mention that other reading had pip cards, and I never even mentioned the elemental dignities, but because they were the same or of the same nature, we had swords and we had batons, which are both in keeping with one another. The suggestion it might be that it would be a movie that my husband decides on, or it could be a movie that he'll like better, that kind of thing. That's what that suggests. Okay, now this one, let's have a fairly common question. I have a friend who I think has betrayed me. She's been acting strangely, or she's been completely ignoring me, or, dropped from the face of the earth. And I think it's because I'd like to know what the reason is, So you see stuff like that reasonably often. So that'll be the question. Okay, coins. The moon. Okay, coins is a passive suit, right? It's not like batons or swords, which I describe as male energy or forceful energy, right? And we have coins, which is a passive suit with the moon card, which is frequently associated with woman, right? So it confirms perhaps that it's a woman, a female. But when we have this, so there's, a four of swords. Well, there goes that theory. Well, however, we have earth and air, right? We have earth and air in the spread, and they are at odds with one another. And they're not quite the same number. We have 5 and 4, but they're almost equal in measure. And they're, cards that, energies that kind of conflict with one another. And then in the center, they flank a woman card, or the moon card, maybe suggesting things that women do, because certainly women would have been the ones threading, spinning thread. Now, it should normally have been done in the daytime, but maybe another reason why this deck is an anomaly in some regards is because this wasn't something that presented itself originally in the moon card. It presented itself on the sun card, but maybe something got lost in translation with this deck and they described it, or they put the wrong number on it. Instead of putting the sun card on it or making it look like the sun, they made it the moon. Who knows? But for whatever reasons, it presents to us as the moon card. So I would take it that she's at odds about something, perhaps something that happened during the time of day that this describes. Maybe something happened in the evening. Maybe there was some project she was working on and she's just completely absorbed by it, and she's like not paying attention to other people, and she's not paying attention to you or me or whoever it's about. That could have something to do with it. But whatever is the reason, these two kind of negate one another. and brings out an aspect of this card, which might not be the most positive aspect, which, maybe could suggest that she's avoiding. There's a certain amount of avoidance. It is the Moon card. It's a card of mystery. It could be a card that suggests betrayal. And, in combination with these, if we're looking at elemental dignities to help us figure it out, it could be that there's some kind of thing that was done overtly, not in plain view, something that was done that was maybe sneaky. And maybe there's a certain amount of guilt and she's just not showing her head. I think that happens with a lot of people sometimes. When you don't have anything to be ashamed of, you don't hide, right? So, and okay, let's try one more. I have to come up with an idea. Okay, this one is not a fictitious question. This one is in regard to the Boeing airplanes and what's been going on over at Boeing. And then the most recent news that we've learned that the whistleblower was presumed to have taken his own life. But it's highly suspicious. And a lot of people that I know who we've spoken on this topic don't think it was a self-life-taking event. They think it was a deliberate action taken by somebody else. So we're going to put it to the cards. Whatever the universe allows us to see, and whatever the universe grants us permission to infer from these cards. Was the whistleblower in Boeing? Was it somebody who took their own life? And I'll just lay 3 cards, because from those cards we should get an idea. Four coins, pretty stable. Queen of Cups, emotional, a woman in charge of her emotions. Now I know it was a gentleman, it wasn't a woman. Page of Batons, somebody who appears to be observing. We have again Earth, and we have Earth, and we have fire, which are not really at odds with one another. However, the water and the batons are. So these 2 cards, if we're looking at elemental dignities, really don't affect each other. They neither hinder nor, you could just look at them at face value. However, the cups and the fire, the water and the fire card would be at odds, and they're staring each other down, and they're looking, right? They kind of have like a stare down, right? They're at odds. There's a conflict. And what we have over here is stability, but because there's conflict, perhaps this shows an instability. Perhaps this shows, an unstable feature. Now, it doesn't answer the question. This could be, well, the guy is like so solid a person and he like really stable and everything. But could this suggest that it was enough to unstable him, or unstabilize his emotions? I mean, the Queen of Cups is, in charge of her emotions. It's the person who's, really in charge of her emotions, but she's being confronted by a lesser energy than her own, but still formidable. So it could perhaps lead to a shakiness of stability. However, that could be also said of the person who did the deed, if it wasn't the individual. So neither of these 2 cards would have numeric value because they're court cards, and so the 4 would be the only numeric value. And for the 4, we see the Emperor. So let's pull the Emperor. Of course, it's probably going to be... I hope you don't mind. Sometimes it's just really nice to look at the cards, Now, see, this is the Sun card. Isn't this is the Star card, excuse me. My bad. Star. There he is, finally. So to me, now seeing the emperor, who is the absolute authority of everyone, gazing, watching it go down, here being a conflict of people. So we have maybe even a power struggle happening at some level, all for the purpose of shaking up the stability of this individual. So maybe what it really looks like is that maybe they were trying to drive the individual into doing something like that, or to make it look like that's what it was, to make it look like it. But I think they had a hand, because they, at the very least, tried to make it look like the individual wasn't stable enough, you know, and the person broke. Because this is a real power struggle here. This is a real, like, you know, a real thing going on. All right. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed these readings. Until next time, friends, peace, stay well, be kind, and do no harm.